That's where we come to the end of BBC Radio 4 for another night. Thanks for staying with us, and please do return tomorrow for some of our offerings, which, since it's a Monday, sees the start of some new series. At 9 in the morning, there's A Dark Magic, which explores the murky world of financial algorithms, which make an estimated 70% of all trading decisions on the US stock market. Robert Peston will be our guide to that. At 9:30, we've a guide to garden wildlife. And then our book of the week recounts Judith Tebbott's experiences when she and her husband endured a 192-day ordeal at the hands of Somali pirates. That's A Long Walk Home at 9:45. But now stay tuned as you are, and you'll hear the BBC World Service. The news is on the horizon, followed by Business Matters, and on Radio 4 Extra, Dover Goes to Pot, a comedy thriller. Image Inspector Dover searches for the killer of a wealthy Yorkshireman's daughter. But now, on behalf of everyone working here on BBC Radio 4, this is David Miles, wishing you a very peaceful night. Good night.
Hello, I'm Susanna Streeter, and this is World Business Report on the BBC World Service. It's 1 a.m. here in London. The working day is winding down in the US, but in Asia it's the start of another day. For the next hour, we'll bring you up to speed with all the latest business news and opinion around the world. Our front runners emerged for Egypt's new Prime Minister, but will he help calm investor jitters? As debate continues about internet firms gathering data about customers, how easy is it to delete personal information?
Can I delete something that somebody else has said about me? And we have said there are questions around that. I mean, it does start to impinge on other people's freedom of expression.
And how do you cope if, like me, you often work through the night?
We can't avoid shift work, but it's about managing our time whilst at work and making sure that we have these rests and these breaks. Some people tend to be more suited to shift work than others.
That's all in 30 minutes after a bulletin of the latest world news.
BBC News with Stuart McIntosh. The Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper has visited the small town where a runaway train derailed and exploded in a fireball. He said the centre of Lac-Mégantic in Quebec looked like a war zone. At least 5 people were killed, 40 are still missing. Ian Gunn reports.
Now that the fire is out, the emergency officials and investigators can begin their work. Fears of more explosions have kept rescuers from the centre of the town since the train derailed on Saturday. Police have said they expect to find more bodies in the area nearest to the train wreck. Some buildings have been completely destroyed, including a bar that was likely to have been busy when the train exploded. However, investigators warn that the fire was so large and so hot that some people may never be found.
Air safety officials investigating the crash landing of a South Korean airliner at San Francisco airport on Saturday say it was flying too slowly during its final approach. All but 2 of the 307 people on board the Asiana Airlines flight survived the accident. Peter Bowes is in Los Angeles.
The first sign of trouble came 7 seconds before landing. The voice recorder reflected a call to increase speed. The data readings show the plane was travelling at significantly below its target speed as it came into land. 1.5 seconds before impact, a voice can be heard calling for the landing to be aborted, but it was too late. Investigators say the pilots will be questioned over the next few days.
Supporters and opponents of Egypt's deposed President Mohamed Morsi have been holding mass protests in Alexandria and Cairo. Jim Muir is in the capital.
Egypt's drastically polarized situation could hardly have been better illustrated. In Tahrir Square, epicenter of the revolution which brought down President Hosni Mubarak over 2 years ago, a massive, exuberant demonstration supporting the army's move last week to oust Mr. Mubarak's elected successor, Mohamed Morsi. And across town, a huge counter-protest at a mosque staged by Mr. Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood supporters. His interim successor, Adli Mansour, is trying to nominate a prime minister to lead a transitional government. But agreement on a consensus candidate is proving elusive.
The radical Muslim cleric Abu Qatada has been moved to a high-security prison outside the Jordanian capital Amman after being charged with 2 terrorism-related offences. He pleaded not guilty. The court order in Jordan came after his deportation from Britain and an 8-year legal battle to get him out of the country. The Church of England has formally apologised for past child abuse by Anglican priests and for its failure to prevent it. At a meeting in the city of York, the ruling General Synod endorsed a report apologising for the abuse of children by 2 priests in the Chichester diocese in the 1970s and 80s, which later prompted an inquiry by the Church. World news from the BBC. Brazil has requested clarification from the US government about reports that American intelligence agencies monitored millions of emails and phone calls from Brazilian citizens and companies. The allegations were published on Saturday by a Brazilian newspaper. Leonardo Rocha reports.
President Dilma Rousseff acted swiftly following the publication of the allegations. She called several cabinet ministers to a meeting on Sunday morning, reportedly angry at the allegations that American agencies were spying on Brazilians inside Brazil. The accusations are based on documents disclosed by the fugitive American intelligence analyst Edward Snowden. In a statement, Foreign Minister Antonio Patriota said the Brazilian government had received the reports with great concern.
The authorities in the northeastern Nigerian state of Yobe have ordered the closure of all secondary schools after a massacre in which suspected Islamist extremists killed about 30 students. The state governor said the school attack near the town of Pokiskum on Saturday had been cold-blooded murder. The Nigerian government has blamed the Islamist militant group Boko Haram. For the first time since 1936, a British man has won the Wimbledon tennis title. Andy Murray beat the world's top player, Novak Djokovic of Serbia, in the men's singles final by 3-0. Murray said his victory had not come easily.
It was an unbelievably tough match, so many long games, and I don't know how I managed to come through that final game. Was unbelievable from 3 match points, so I'm just so glad to finally do it.
It's Murray's second Grand Slam title after last year's US Open. The Palestinian militant group Hamas says it's broken up a counterfeiting ring in Gaza that had printed large amounts of fake Israeli currency. Hamas police said the gang forged thousands of 100 shekel bills worth the equivalent of about $5 million. BBC News.